2. So I'll wait a couple of seconds. And yeah, here we are again for a live stream. We weren't here last week because it was the Cybertruck launch. Were you watching that, Gary, at all?
No, I didn't see it, if I'm honest.
No. So I'm a bit of a Tesla bod these days. I do love it. But yeah, so here we are at the live stream. This is all about the used EV market. And we've got myself. My name's Tim Aylen. I run Chargeheads. I've got, God, goodness me, nearly 20 years experience in the motor trade, 8 years experience used car buying for a main dealer group, and certainly a couple of years in EV buying. And yeah, I'm all about the electrification of transport and exciting electric cars. Hence, you know, check out Chargeheads, the rest of the videos. It'll all make sense. Gary, please tell me, give us an intro. Tell me what's it all about, mate.
Right, my name's Gary Cambridge. I started my basically started as a Facebook group because I found it's quite a lonely place when I want information, and you know I find people much about the coin, you know, like oh pay me and I'm like I don't want that. I want to talk to someone who, and I've always said to everybody, don't talk to me because I sell cars. Maybe don't talk to you, but talk to someone who's got one. If you see one in a car park, just go up and say, excuse me, can I ask you about your car? And I think really you don't need to know about the door handles or the color or the wheels or the BHP. I personally think you want to know about what's gone wrong with it. And that was my big thing at the beginning. It was like, this is new. It's like, whoa, you know. And when I got into it about 10 years ago, everything was free. So free? No, nothing's free, you know, anyway. And it was, I thought, wow, well, I'll take a chance. And because I sell cars, I thought, well, and I started the group basically to hopefully be a useful place where people can speak to owners and ask questions and get their fears and stuff. You know, they can put them to bed. You know, they don't have to, because it is when you get your first EV. I don't care. Anyway, if anyone says no, I won't worried. I think, well, you're either really lucky or you had loads of money and someone picked you up, or you were fibbing. You know, I think it's a bit of a worry. Even now, you know, you think, yeah, it's fine, and you just, especially with a Tesla, you just assume that the chargers are going to work. But, you know, if you pull in and it's like they're all full up, it's like, okay. But it's, I mean, I love my EV. I wouldn't go back. But the trouble is, there is that element of, you know, if you do run, you have to plan it well. And sometimes even when you plan it well, it doesn't, it falls apart. The wheels fall off every now and again, but they don't fall off very often. You know, and basically that's why I started my group, and it started as a Facebook group just to, I don't know, get people to.
How long has it been going now?
It started about 14, I think, 2014.
Oh wow! You had your first Nissan Leaf, because I think
I got my Leaf in. I think it was the Easter of that 2014, which I think was April. So I'm 9.5, well, just over 9.5 years of driving these.
How many years have you been at Plumstead Motors actively sort of with the business?
Well, my father started it in 1959, and I sort of started there washing the cars probably at 13 or whatever. Yeah, you want a bit of money and you got to go and work for your dad, didn't you? They don't want to pay you enough.
First, you sold your first car, Gary. I'm really interested now. You know.
Oh, I don't know, such a long time ago. I can't. You obviously you talk to people even when you was there as a youngster. You know, if you was there 14, you just still talk to people and say, "Oh, you might want to see my dad" or something like that. But yeah, it was probably in, I don't know, 16, I suppose I would have been when I sold the first car, I guess.
Nice.
But you know, I don't know how many cars we sold over the years.
Yeah.
Just couldn't
goodness. I think I tried to work it out when I was at Vindus Group for 14 years, and I was in sales for how many years of that? Probably about 8, I think. No, 6. And yeah, it was hundreds and hundreds. But yeah,
there's too many. You just can't.
Oh no, that's it. I think I worked out how many I'd bought, and it was thousands, and it was up to 1,000 a year at some points. You know, it's crazy times. But let's get back on track. Let's so basically, in a nutshell, we've got a decent amount of experience between us to talk about the used car market, and we've got a big passion of EVs. So I think we're in pretty good stead to have a chat on it, because it's something that I'm really passionate about. And Gary, I know that you've got a keen interest in EVs, and obviously you live and breathe it, don't you? So, so what ideally on this chat today, what we're going to talk about is essentially, what's happening in the EV market, what's happened before. Some of you guys might have seen my video about used car prices pretty much this time last year. I've had a spreadsheet there which showed about the depreciations and stuff like that. So yeah, and I'll bring that to the table in a little while, because I did a bit of homework before, showing what the depreciation was compared to this time last year. So I'll show those figures later, and it will show.
Right? Can I just apologize? I didn't realise the comments were there. I was on the private chat, and I just see all the comments. Just quickly say, these are running medals, but I'm an old git now. I can't run. I've done my hamstring, and I don't know. I tore my hamstring, and I can't. I'm not running at the moment, and I fell off a ladder. Don't know, 10 weeks ago, broke 5 ribs. So that was just
men, Gary. I hope you're on the men.
Yeah, definitely on the men, but I don't advise going up ladders for a while. So sorry, I didn't see all the comments, so apologies about that. So
no, that's all right. Funnily enough, the only medal I've got was for a Cambridge half marathon, ironically.
Was it?
Yeah. Yeah, I made it. But yeah, no, talking about the used EV market, etc. But where I thought we could start, Gary, and I'm sure you can probably comment on this, is certainly when I was buying cars, there was all these things that were hitting the motor trade. Dieselgate, that was quite a big thing that hit the market, changed the public's perception around EVs starting to become, certainly hybrids starting to become a bit more of interest, and then we had, obviously a lot later down the line, we had COVID. COVID was a massive thing that, I think it created massive bubbles for electric cars and massive bubbles for petrol, exciting petrol cars. People had a load of cash in their pocket. It really created the bubble. And I think now we are seeing that bubble really kind of burst in terms of prices, not only for EV, but on ICE cars as well. And then during COVID, then just after, we had the chip shortage, didn't we? Couldn't get, new cars. I was buying a year-old Audi A3 for pretty much new money and putting £3,000 across it, or £2,000 across it. It's just bonkers what was happening at the time. Then fuel prices. You remember fuel prices? It was like £2, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was
when I got my EV, it was £2 a gallon, because I was actually driving a little smart car diesel, and it was just
a diesel. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, and it would do. Brilliant little thing. You could park it anywhere. Park it the wrong way around, couldn't you?
Yeah.
But because I've never liked buying fuel. Fuel to me has always been. I mean, when I've had 2.8 Capris, they're just like, even when it was £1 a gallon, it seems a lot of money. It's a lot of money, a lot of your wages. That's, I think, the problem at the moment with the sort of the price of the. I know you can make a cup of coffee at home for 12 pence, but you go to a Costa, but a Costa I can drink. Fuel in my car, I don't think any of us see any value in petrol or even electricity. We see, well, it's just electricity or it's just petrol. So when the price goes, and anyone who was in it, like when I got mine, if it was all ecotricity, it was free, and that's what I've done. Free? No, nothing's free. And it was like, yeah, it is. Well, and a lot of people saying, oh, they're going to stop it. I went, yeah, but if McDonald's are giving away free burgers for the next 2 hours, why wouldn't you have them for 2 hours? Why would you say, oh, they're not going to give them away, and then want money 3 hours? Take it now.
Yeah,
I think so. Take it while it's free.
Literally just down the road from me at Rushton Lakes, they had pod points, and they were all free. And only a couple of months ago, it's now charging, and they're charging quite a lot of money. I think it's like it's got to be in the 40s. I could be wrong there, because I saw the price. I was like, no way. Because like you mentioned earlier, Gary, very briefly, the public charging prices is a big factor in this EV market and what's happening with the prices, because used EV pricing on the rapid chargers has gone up recently, up to about 85p. But what a lot of people don't realize is, if you're fortunate enough to have a Tesla charging is only between sort of 30p and 50p. depending on what time of day. Whereas if you're charging at home, and I'm sure you'll tell me your rate in a second, Gary, is the fact that, you know, I'm paying 9.5 pence per kilowatt hour, which works out on the Tesla Model 3 that I drive. It's like 2 pence per mile, which is, it's just peanuts, you know?
I think the problem is we all want loads of chargers. We all want them working perfectly. We want them to charge quick, but we're tight. We don't want to pay for it. I want it free. You know, and I would imagine any of them companies, GridServe, I think they're backed by Hitachi Capital. I would imagine they're chucking millions into it. I bet they ain't. They might not. And Harper Tunning, I can't believe it's Harper Tunning. That's his name, isn't it? I can't believe he's putting loads of cash out of the company. No way. I would imagine GridServe is not losing big time, but I wouldn't think they're making massive. I wouldn't think even BP Pulsar. I think we all think they're making loads of money. 80p. I bet they're not. Because them rapids must be crazy money to buy.
It's an interesting thing because obviously being in the charging world, I know how much these chargers cost, and even the cheapest ones, 120 kilowatt charger, one that we do, Quench one, just about released. You're talking sort of 22,000 pounds for 120 kilowatt, which is cheapest compared to some of them.
When I bought my Leaf, right, I wanted a charger. I don't know, they're ABB. I don't know what they were. Anyway, I wanted one. A French company made them, and it took them about a month to get me a price. I went, I just want a price. I said, you don't have to sell it to me, but I want a price. Maybe I might want to buy one. Or you have to be special. I said, don't worry about that. Just give me the price, the numbers. Give me the numbers after the pound or the franc or whatever it is, or the euro. I don't care. Just want to know that. And it works out back then. It was like 35 grand. That was like nearly 10 years ago. And I was like, wow. You know, and I'm thinking, hang on a minute. I see like you walk in and people are moaning there's only two. I'm thinking, that's 60 grand's worth of charges alone. Or maybe Electricity, maybe Dow was having to deal with them and they're getting them for 25s or something. But I wouldn't think he was getting it for 10 grand. But I think that's the trouble. None of us not really, you know how much they cost. And it isn't just that.
It's not just the charges, it's not just the charges. It's
the infrastructure.
Well, not only that, you know, upgrades to power. The thing that I see all the time is people want the chargers. Okay, yeah, if they can stomach the charger price, then great. But then it's all the, you know, the groundworks, the cabling, the labor. I mean, it's all, it really does mount up. So yeah, I can understand people want to get their money back, but you know, I don't know how Tesla's doing it. Obviously, they were early adopters; they got in there first, so obviously they make their own chargers. So
I was told a long time ago. It was this is what someone said to me. He said, "Whoever owns the power is the king." And I thought, he said, whoever owns the battery. He said, Tesla. He said, I'm pretty sure he ain't worried about the metal boxes. He wants the power. He wants the batteries because he's a sensible man. He's the richest man in the world. He's sensible. Yeah. You know, sell up what a Model 3. It don't matter. Really, imagine he loses $5 grand a car. Does he really care? He's making it on the energy. The energy is where it's because we're all saying you've got to stop burning stuff. So what are we going to do? I've got to use electricity. I've got to buy. I can generate it myself, which I haven't got to generate. I haven't got a power plant. And I thought, and that was probably like 8 years ago. Someone told me that, and I was thinking, nah. And then I thought, oh, actually, it's probably pretty true, really. If all the cars are going to be electric, all the trucks are going to be electric, we're going to have electric heating, lights, charging my phone. It's all electricity, you know. And I would imagine. Well, they were really, and I thought it was years ago. All these manufacturers are saying, look, can you buy this electric car? I don't care what you've got, an M3. I don't care what you've got. It's simple. You put the liquid in it and drive it. Just put it in liquid, you drive. You don't even think about it. I know you haven't got a garage at home, and I'm like, well, what was I going to say about the? Oh God, I hate that. I'm getting old because I just, you know, and I was like, bing, it's just gone now. I can't remember.
It's interesting fact you say about the power because recently Elon mentioned about batteries and the fact that there won't be enough power. I know that the national grid keeps saying there's enough power, but he said in a couple of years' time, and I do trust quite a bit what Elon says because he does tend to work out quite right, other than his, you know, timeframes for building new models quite a lot of the time. But he said that batteries are going to be a massive key in a couple of years, and he's got those Tesla gigapacks that are going everywhere in the world. Started in Australia for that massive solar array. We've got them in the UK for our offshore wind as well. But you know, going back to the used car things, you know, there's been all these factors that have affected and continually affect EV prices. I think media has been a massive part of negative information on EVs. And let's be honest here, media, where do they get their money from? They get it mainly from advertising. Who's advertising? You've got to think about who are the people in the background that are potentially guiding the way for media to go. It's not rocket science. So, but yeah, in terms of other things that affect it, obviously we had the ban that was implemented, the 2030 ban in March 2021, and then a lot of people started going towards electric. And then this year, September 2023, we had the U-turn, which again, although there's been the U-turn, according a bit of a soundbite from the PM, but realistically, all these other manufacturers, all the main dealers, all the brands, they still have to hit targets to the ZEV mandate. They have to hit targets for making sure they sell a certain percentage of electric cars, or they're going to get fined. So I think soon we're going to see and I think some companies are already starting to do it. We're going to start seeing some major discounts on new cars. And I think this is really going to show which electric cars are more desirable, because I think it's very easy to take a petrol or diesel car, whether it's an Audi, BMW, Mercedes. They're all much of a muchness, aren't they?
Yeah,
there's the brand desirability. Some people stick with BMs, what they know, and they're all a much of a muchness other than the styling. But with EVs, and I hope you'd agree with me here, Gary, there's some really good EVs, and then there's some EVs that are absolutely, you wouldn't put your money into it, because you just know in terms of whether it's range, efficiency, or technology, it's just not going to be desirable. So I think
the only thing I struggle with technology, because people say about technology is moving on, and as far as I know, my car's got lots of AA batteries in it. It's got a switch and a motor, basically, because we've all seen that picture of an X5 engine with loads of bits, and look at a Tesla motor, it's just this. And I think, yeah, okay, but I don't know what I agree with the infotainment center, but I'll look in my Model S, and I think it's got electric seats, which is the same as it's an electric seat, heated seats. I'm not sure what the technology, everyone's saying about the technology. I'm not, but what technology? I don't, even my Leaf, I'm thinking, yeah, that's an old car, but it hasn't got electric seats, but the charging, I mean, there must be a charge controller, charges the battery up, there's a motor and a switch that makes it there's a variable motor, you touch it a little bit, it goes a little bit, but I don't know what the technology.
Yeah, from a technology point of view, the best example I can give is if you get into an ID3, the technology is a bit glitchy and it doesn't update. Well, certainly hasn't done until very recently, update over the air. And it's just not, it just doesn't work that well. Where you get into a Tesla and it just works really well. The app works really well. I mean, a lot of the VAG group, VW, Audi, Skoda, etc., the app on those is so difficult to use, and it's just not seamless. It's not very intuitive. That's what I was looking for. So I think when people talk about technology, that's the sort of stuff I'm talking about.
Do you know it feels to me? It feels that Tesla are like an iPhone. I mean, I prefer Android, but iPhone users, I think they have it quite easy. It's quite easy to use, intuitive. It just seems to work. Like Apple stuff, I mean, I don't really like Apple stuff. I think it's a lot of money. You can't download any apps that Apple go, oh no. And that feels like what Tesla feels like. It's just everything, as you say, just works. It's not really overcomplicated. It just works.
I mean, there's a lot of people. I think it'd be good to highlight this. Jerome says there's loads of tech, Gary. So
yeah, I completely agree. But I've heard over my 10 years, and in my sort of 40, whatever amount of years in the motor trade, I've seen all sorts of things come and go over the years. But I agree with the batteries, obviously, because I don't really know exactly how the chemicals, the chemistry of the batteries. Maybe you and McTurk could give me a lesson.
He's going to be on in January, mate. So we'll ask him.
I mean, he is. And when I see all these people about the FUD, I just say, look, I can send you to people who will give you facts, not fiction. But what I struggle with the FUD is I'm like, why don't we promote Cleveley EV? Why don't we promote rather than the Daily Mail have said this? Well, it's like, forget the Daily Mail. They're going to, and I think I must have converted, I don't know how many people, by them just simply having a little bit of an open mind. I could worry that they read the Telegraph or listened to Rowan Atkinson when he went to Goodwood and saying about hydrogen. I'm like, but just ignore him. Let all the people laugh on Facebook. Don't worry about them. But let's promote how good my EV is. Or don't worry about all the idiots that are going to try and say you don't want one. You've seen the picture in the snow. Do you know what I'm thinking? All we're doing when we get triggered over that, I'm giving them free marketing. I'm giving them marketing that they can only dream of. When it's triggering, it's like free marketing, and we're fueling it. Like Quinton, he's going about the V8, and I'm thinking, Quinton, don't buy it. Quinton, get hungry.
What's he getting triggered by? Sorry.
No, they seem to get triggered over lots of stuff about the FUD and the fear, uncertainty, doubt, and UK EV England have gone about up to the government about this. And I'm like, guys, why don't we just get on with, instead of putting our effort into that, let's put some bricks in the ground of building a factory where we build the batteries. I think when you get triggered over something, you're promoting exactly the thing that you're triggered about. And if anything, you're spreading it. If any information never gets shared, it dies. It dies. Put a post. I don't care if Elon Musk put a post and no one commented, it would disappear. It would disappear. But every time you comment on it, all you're doing is you're giving that life. And the more famous you are, the more life you're giving it. And I'm like, Robert Llewellyn, he gets quite. And I'm like, Robert, just leave it, mate. Just don't worry about him. You and Jack, that Scarlett, just say, look.
Good advice, to be fair. It is quite good.
This is my view. I mean, Robert's a real good EV fanatic. And I think, Robert, let's promote EVs. Don't worry about the people that are telling them they're wrong. Just show people, do some shows where you show how far you can go, this sort of stuff. We should all promote that. That's promote the good.
No, absolutely. And talking of that, my Tesla has gone over 90,000 miles this week. It hasn't set fire, and it's not had new batteries or new motors. Still going strong. Still got a really strong range. I don't know what the exact range is. I reckon it's got to be 90% plus. But I need to do a test soon. That would be a good idea. But yeah, and I was saying about the ZEV mandate that that discount, dealers discounting cars because certain cars are more desirable than others. That's certainly going to affect the used car market. All these market conditions, you've got no incentives really for electric cars now. I mean, yes, you've got the company car tax, which made a huge difference at the beginning. And I was watching something recently. I can't remember what it was now, saying that there was actually a bit of, yes, you get 0% company car tax, but there was a bit of small print that was saying that actually you have to pay some of that corporation tax back. Please comment someone on that, because I can't exactly remember what that was, if anyone knows. But yeah, you've got the new models coming out all the time. All these new models. We've got BYD Seal's just come out, which looks like a nice car. They just need to bring the money down for these Chinese vehicles. The only negative thing I can say about that vehicle is the max charging speed's only 150. But you've got the new Tesla Model 3. Sat in it recently. That is going to make, I think, quite a big difference to electric car prices, because I don't know how many Tesla Model 3s you've driven, Gary. Obviously, I'm a bit of a Tesla fanboy these days.
I've never driven one. My brother has got a Y. My brother's got a Model Y.
I'm around to drive mine, but the amount of Model 3s that are out there, and such a game-changing car that was, there's going to be a lot hitting the market when the lease is changed to the new one or the Y, because obviously got the new facelift Y coming out soon as well. So I think that's going to put a load more volume of used cars into the market, and it's all about supply and demand, isn't it, Gary? It's that's what affects prices as well. So not only new cars coming out, cheap Chinese alternatives. I think there's a few more brands coming into the UK now, and I don't know, you might not have seen this, but apparently for 3 years they're going to hold off on Brexit tariffs for electric cars coming into the country as well. Which
is that to do with something of origin or something? Something about the origin of? Oh,
no, that was to do, I think, more to do with the Chinese cars to stop Chinese cars coming so much. But this was more to do with European cars, because all the Brexit stuff. There's like these extra import charges because we're not part of the EU anymore. They were
right.
gonna basically stop that for 3 years, which will actually make quite a big difference on the new car price, which obviously in turn affects the used car price. So yeah, the more cheap EVs, the better. Yeah, I think EV. Yeah,
with the headline price. Yeah, but the trouble is, see, for years and years, Tim, no one really buys their car now. If you say I bought my car, you're like, really? What, you bought it? Yeah, but you shouldn't own it. Don't, only own appreciating assets. A car's a depreciating. But if I keep it long enough, I mean, my Leaf I've had, which 10 year, will be 11-year-old next year. I'm going, well, you could have driven that for 11 years. It's like, yes, of course, it doesn't look very good. It's not a new number plate and it's not a Porsche badge, but it's a metal box, and I'm like, but no one really, the problem is, cars are too expensive. And years ago, they invented PCP. It's like, how can we keep these people, how can we hook them? We're all hooked by shiny cars. Shiny penny is a hook. We want a new car. Imagine, I would imagine, I don't want a Porsche, but I would imagine if you get a Porsche, anyone who's driven one, what are they like? I bet they're just a bit of a weapon, aren't they? Have you driven?
I've only driven the Audi RS e-tron GT, and it was an amazing car, but I literally drove it like Miss Daisy, 70 miles an hour, and there was no way I was getting more than 250 miles out of that car. And bearing in mind, it was £140,000. Let that sink in for a little bit. I personally would, and my friend Clive, who was supposed to be on last week, he's going to be on in a couple of weeks' time. He's into his modded cars, got 800 brake Mitsubishi Evo, weighs about 1,200.
What David said there, about.
Yes, I was just coming to that. But yeah, so basically his Tesla performance was as quick as that Audi e-tron. Yes, the Audi quality is nicer inside and the exterior is lovely. But yeah, I was going to say also with David's there, huge depreciation. Another thing that's happened is apparently lease companies are now saying that if the prices still keep getting chopped away in the used car market, they're going to have to change their the values, the guaranteed future value.
The deposit's going to. I said this. I mean, when it fully charged, loads of people there, the plug seek all smiling. Yeah, they're all coming down. They're going to be cheap. I said, oh, great. I said, so what you're advocating really is when you get your next one, the deposit is going to be not ramped. It's going to be ramped like Everest, massive. The monthlies are going to go crazy, and they're going to reduce the mileage. And the GFE is going to be, well, we think it's worth about £4. Oh, what? Really? I said, well, think about it. What do you think these big finance houses, money rules the world. I said, do you think the finance houses are going to go, we don't mind sticking them in Mannheim and we give 40 grand for it and we're going to sell it for like 18 grand? I said, they're going to stand that for a bit because they've got billions. I said, but they're soon going to clock on. As you said, they're going to go, if this happens, we're going to change all these things. Because I remember when I got my Leaf, it was like, I don't know, 150 quid. On 150 quid for like 7,500 miles. And I thought, that's so cheap. That's crazy. And then
what, on a PCP?
Yeah. But I wouldn't do that anyway. I bought it. Right. But what it was, next time they were like something like, I don't know, 320 quid. And people were saying, I can't believe it's gone up. I was only paying that. I said, well, they don't need to do it now. They don't need to discount it now because people are buying them. The Leafers, people now want them. So that's why you're paying more, because at the beginning they're probably giving them away because no one wants them. When they get a bit of foothold, then
So we could think of so many negatives right now. We've got residual values not being so good, so that's going to put up the PCP prices, and also interest rates. That's what I was going to say. Interest rates went up. They've settled down now, so that's putting the price up. So there's so many things against. Certainly the EV side of things. I mean, we've not really touched on ICE or hybrid. I don't really want to talk about hybrid because I'm not a massive fan. I'll be completely honest. But when you're talking about ICE cars, there has been a difference in prices. They have come tumbling down. So it has been affecting that market as well. Talking about depreciation, I think we were talking about it before we came on, Gary, that, new cars, they do take a massive hit. Especially expensive cars, the lumpy cars, as we call them in the trade.
But they should. If I buy anything, if I buy this cup new from Harrods, say I'll give 50 quid for that cup in Harrods and it's a posh cup. What's it really worth? It's worth nothing. You sell it on eBay. What's it worth? Buying expensive. Everything should be worth much less. This shirt, my telly, everything, my car. And that's what it used to be like. But the pandemic. And do you know what?
I love that term.
Brexit and the pandemic is the best thing ever for a manufacturer, because I can tell you can't buy them. We've got a chip shortage. Even if I haven't got a chip shortage, and we're all hooked, we're going, but I want it now. FOMO is massive. FOMO will make everybody really having your pants pulled down, but everyone's going, take my money, take my money, take my money.
Stands for again?
Fear of missing out. What, FOMO?
No, FOMO. I haven't heard that phrase for ages.
Well, that's what it feels. It feels like that. It feels like. And I'm saying to people now, do you know what I'm saying to people? Look, if you think maybe in 2 years' time you're going to buy an EV, I said, if I was you, I'd buy one now. I said, what you got a PCP one for 200-300 quid a month? Why don't you just have a loan over 4 years? I said, you must have some money. You might have to say borrow a couple of grand off your mum and dad, stick down 6 grand and borrow, say, 14 grand on a 20 grand car. Buy it now. Yes, it may go wrong, but then save up for the repairs. Just save some money towards it.
I'm going to disagree with you on that one. I think at the moment, if we start talking about the current EV market, and this is, I personally think that EVs are going to continue to reduce in price. Some are reducing faster than others, of course, and we'll talk about models in a second. But I still think they're going to keep coming down because of all the media information out there in terms of negativity. You've got to think about realistically infrastructure. So yes, I'm lucky enough to have a driveway. Have you got a driveway, Gary?
No.
You haven't?
I've got 26 panels as well, and I've got a Tesla Powerwall.
Oh, wow. So how do you charge your Leaf then?
I'll charge it out. I'll charge it when I go out. Because I'm on my own. There's no one. I mean, you couldn't disappear to a charger at 2 o'clock in the morning, or because it'd be like, where are you off to? But when I go out and about, I'm lucky because I go past Blue Water, and there's since a couple of years ago, 17 chargers there. Where I go off down towards Portsmouth quite regular. I've got Seven Oaks as chargers there. I've got Gatwick, and they've just opened Peace Pottage. And then if I go further down, I've got Havant. So really, I just use superchargers all the time. I don't need
to do that though, isn't it?
No, because mine's free, isn't it? I'm tight. That's why I bought my car, because it's free supercharging.
Oh,
mine's old.
Sorry, we should have said at the beginning of this. Yeah, Gary's got a Model
S, 85 Model S. I mean, I bought it in 2018, but when I bought it, I wanted 200 miles. I'll go and see my partner. It's 80 mile, and I wanted to. My Leaf. Well, to be fair, I got my Leaf. It was doing fine, and obviously, as you use it, when it is the I don't know, the sort of the range starts to go, and I thought, do you know what? I'm like the Michelin man in winter because I haven't got enough battery, and I thought, do you know, I just thought,
what did it go down? It was a 24 kilowatt hour, or was it 30?
Yeah, 24. It was a 24.
We got down to 60.
Well, and I just thought, do you know, I need to either go back to a petrol car or do something. And back then, there was nothing else. If I'd have waited till 19, very late 18, I think it was 19 actually. There was a Kona come out, and there was, like, say, 200 brought into the country. There weren't 500. There was a few, and you could have got. But I couldn't get one then, obviously. But I bought my car. It was out of warranty. I thought, I'll take a chance. I mean, I looked at some, but to get one in warranty, it was another 15 grand more. And I thought, that's a lot of money. And one day I'm going to get to that mileage. It's out of warranty anyway. I thought, I'll take a chance. And I've been lucky. The battery went wrong, but that was changed under warranty. They cocked that up, and then they had to do it again. The motor went about a month before it was out of warranty, so I was lucky.
How many miles?
It's got 192 or 193 now.
Oh wow!
Oh yeah, I do a lot of miles. And that's why I bought it, because it was free supercharging, and it was like, well, I'll go for it. I thought I'd do 400, 600 mile a week. Is it a risk? Well, it's not really a risk. You just got to have money, haven't you? Before I bought it, I priced up. The battery was 15,000. The motor is 5,000. And I thought, well, for anyone to buy that metal box, you've got to be prepared to spend 20. There's no point in crying about it. You've got to you got to have the means or get the means to.
You don't need to spend 15 grand, because you can, with the Model S's, you can fix individual modules now.
Oh yeah, no, but I wanted to know the worst way.
Okay.
I want to know, like, if I bought whatever an M3 and it's £8 grand I don't care. I want to know worst way, because it's always better. If I know
worst case,
if worst case, and that's I thought, you know what, I'll take a chance. And I've been lucky with the screen went wrong, but then Tesla paid. I had to pay, but then they paid for it because they had a court case in America, and then they refunded my money. I mean, I've been lucky, really. If door handles go, but I've had 3 done now. But it's a car, isn't it? They're all going to go wrong, And I like my car. I mean, I've just noticed now there's a wheel bearing. I'm sure there's a wheel bearing at the front. And I'm thinking, but it's cars, and you can't. I've been around cars so long; they go wrong. Yeah. They all if you're going to use them, you're going to wear it out. Even electric cars, you're going to wear it out, and you just got to. I mean, I'm boring. I save for my repairs. I put a quid every time I do 3 mile. I put a quid. If I drive something, it's 10 mile there and back. I put 2 quid, and then if I do 12 mile, I do another 2 quid. But I do. I mean, so I just do it, because I need tires. I don't need brakes, but things go wrong. And the only problem with electric cars is the repairs can be quite tasty.
Yeah,
on the repairs.
Well, take it to Tesla. They charge about £160 an hour. I think it's quite.
Well, actually, no, it's 120 quid. No, I don't think they're labour rate. If I'm honest, people moan about them, but I think they're actually pretty good.
Maybe Milton Keynes is more expensive.
Plus VAT. No, it's 120 plus VAT.
Okay.
But I'll get the VAT back because I'm a business. But they're honestly, they're actual. I don't think Tesla, even their repairs things, are bad. I think people slag them off because they haven't got the money to repair it. They're driving a car they can't really afford to repair, and they're saying, well, you should fix it free. It's like, no, you should drive a car you can afford to repair. If you don't want to pay the prices, don't buy the car. No, I think because they're quite an expensive car, I can imagine if you worked in there and someone's coming and give 50, 60, 100 grand for a car, well, they're thinking they're buying a Bentley, aren't they? I can imagine their expectations are to the moon. Yeah. Usually people's budget doesn't meet their expectations. If your budget meets your you're not disappointed. But
focusing on David's question, I've highlighted that one for a little while because I think it's quite an interesting one. Say, what's a good way to incentivize people to buy used EVs? Maybe government could subsidize charging network. I personally think that they just need to take the electric price off the gas price and make it a realistic price to what actually the electric generation costs. I think that would be a great way of incentivizing. In terms of just used, I don't think people need an incentive. I think we just need information out there which is factual. And as I was going on to say, talking about infrastructure, when Gary's got the free charging, nice, is the real key for me, and I keep banging on about it to everyone, is it's all about AC charging at home. If you've got a driveway, great. You can take advantage of nighttime charging because you get home, you plug it in when you need to, and it's 2p a mile. Happy days. But for the people that have got a flat, they haven't got parking, we need to find more solutions. I know that there are solutions, lamppost charging, connected curb, and all these things. They normally charge about 30 to 35p off the top of my head, which is all right. Still better than it's still less expensive than having a petrol diesel. But I think we need to find more solutions. So not necessarily subsidizing stuff, but just make sure that it's easier and it's cheaper for people. And I think that would work a hell of a lot. Gary, apparently you're smart. Oh, so smart. You've obviously got a fan there. I'm not.
I personally think driving all this time to, I don't know, 250, 260,000 miles I've done or whatever, EV miles. I mean, everyone's focusing on, I want, let's say, 800 volt architecture. I'm like, no, I want billions of destination chargers. I want like millions and millions. But I only know that because I've been this far into it. Yeah. When you first start, it's like the first time you go on a rapid, what do? Imagine it being free. You will sit there till it's 101%. You don't care if it takes an hour to do that last 5%. You will sit there. Now, like you would go, heck it, I've got 20 miles spare. I'm going to go. And I say to people, drive slower, splash and dash. But they're like, I said, but if it's free,
volt and bolt.
You will sit there a painfully long time to get. But that's
because you don't want to charge at home because it's cheaper.
Yeah, well, you will, and so you should. Why would you not? Why would you go for something expensive rather than what's that?
I was the Mod Scotsman talking about buying cheap cars. I always buy cheap cars. The Tesla Model 3 that I bought was the cheapest in the country. Tesla just put up the new price twice, and I could have made money on the car. It was a bargain, but now it's worth probably, we buy a car probably 16, 17. If I sold it privately, maybe 20 grand. So I've lost 16 grand, and I bought it with 56,000 miles. It's now done 90. So there's a fair bit of mileage depreciation, but obviously the EV market as well. But I was really lucky, and because I managed to benefit from the bubble by buying and selling a Skoda Enyaq, but that's another story.
Yeah, but you couldn't buy a 20-year-old electric car anyway. There's not one that's that old. That's the problem.
But obviously you wouldn't buy a Nissan Leaf because obviously the battery degradation is really bad because the batteries weren't thermally managed. But I mean, what's their Mitsubishi Maya? They're 2011, aren't they?
Well, you say that, but I'd say a Nissan Leaf. But obviously, yes, it's not going to go very far. But again, it's expectations, isn't it? If my budget is sufficient, I can drive 300 mile. I can drive 300. I could get, I don't know, the new Roadster when it comes out does 500 miles. But it's 100 grand. It's like, that's the problem. They haven't been around long enough to get enough so that, because at the moment you can go and buy a cheap old Fiesta or whatever because they've been around for years, like your Civic, because it's been around for years. That's why you can't buy a 24-year-old electric car. You are correct about what you're saying, Tim, but the problem is there isn't any choice unless you want to spend more money. If you want to spend more money, we have a day when you were saying it. I think you're spot on because the degradation, it's Chimido. But do you know what? What about if I've got a charger at home and I might only do 25 mile a day?
It's perfect, isn't it? Yeah.
But then, yes, what you're going to have to do, unfortunately, unless you want to spend in the 20 grand, you're going to go, we'll have to have a petrol car as our second car, or we need to save up and get a one that will do that, the distance I want to do.
I mean, they're good question or comment there by the Mod Scotsman again, said about car ownership, driving license on the decline. The way it's going, and I can't remember who the guy was that said it. I'll have to dig it out. He basically said, look, it's going to be like Uber. Yes, there's going to be car enthusiasts like me and many other people where, you go to a racetrack or you go to a certain place where you're a bit like having a racetrack for horses. And me and my friends have said this before, it's going to be a bit like that. And then everything else is going to be Uber, press a button, electric car pulls up outside. It's artificially, it's AI driving. You jump in it and you go off to wherever you need to go, and then it goes off somewhere else. Because, you think about the amount of stationary vehicles out there I can't remember what the figures are off the top of my head, but it's really quite crazy that we buy a car and how long it's just left there for the week, just doing nothing. But with electric cars and AI and, full self-driving, it's going to be able to utilize, I think, transport in a much better way. But there's always going to be people into cars and that sort of thing. David wants to ask you a controversial question.
Only a slightly controversial. I'm very disappointed if it's only slightly.
Only slightly. I think Gary can take a really controversial question.
Just ask. You have to have a thick skin. Social media, you need a very thick skin. So nothing really offends me, really. But
and here we go. Well, this is an interesting one. A 9K 3-year-old Zoe. I'm guessing that's a 9K one. That can do 200 miles in the real world is a bargain at the moment. I know for 7 grand at the moment, you can get a 41 kilowatt hour Zoe, which is about 150 realistic miles on, if you.
That's a 50K. That to do 200, that must be the 50K one.
Yeah, it must be quite a high mileage one at that. And the good thing about the 50K ones is they don't, and I really want to talk about this, what's the best cheap car to buy? Really, the only options are Nissan Leaf, Renault Zoe, or Mitsubishi Maya, or the equivalent Peugeot or Citroen. But the Leaf, you got battery degradation, which I'm not too keen on unless you're very lucky. But maximum mileage, it's going to be sort of 50, 60 miles, isn't it? Really, for a £4,000 Leaf, something like that.
Yeah, but it would be. Yeah, that'd be a 24 kilowatt, wouldn't it?
Then
but then, you know, if anyone's going to buy one of them, I'd say that's got to be your second or third car, surely. You know, it's going to be,
and then
it will go to shops and Tesco's. It will do everything, but you just can't go. You know, and why would you? It'd be like buying I don't know, whatever. You've got to buy the right tool for it. You wouldn't buy a 2-seater smart car and say, I want to try and get 3 people in it. Buy the right. You can get an adjustable spanner, but it's never going to fit perfectly, is it? You know, if you get the right tool for the job.
Then you've got the Renault Zoe 22 kilowatt, which will probably have the battery finance on it, which has now been reduced to £25 a month. So that's £300 a year. I looked at the figures recently, and I reckon we could save some money by changing my wife's petrol car to electric.
Just a little side story. Someone I know, or we know, had a Leaf, a Flex, you know, the one with the battery. And he rung up RCI, which is Nissan's finance leasing thing. And he rung them up and said, where do you want the battery? They went, what? Where do you want the battery? I don't want the battery. You can't do that. No, it's my car, but the battery, the bolts are even mine, but the battery you can have back. We don't want it. And in the end, they gave him the battery for about 800 quid. Because he went, no. I'm taking it out of the car. I don't want the battery. It's your battery because I lease it. You can have it back. And they wouldn't have it. And he went, well, do what you want. Take me to court. I don't care.
Well, so it was Nissan Leaf on a
battery. It's called Flex. You know, the early Nissan Leaf.
Battery lease. So it was a Nissan Leaf, because Nissan Leafs on battery lease are a lot rarer than Renault Zoes, of course.
Well, this was ages ago. This was probably 6 years ago. And
so he rang them up, took the battery out and said, take your battery away.
No, he didn't take it out, but he told them he had. He said, I've got this car. It's going to have the battery taken out this weekend because I've bought a battery in my own one from another Leaf, and I'm going to bring it to Maple Cross, isn't it, is where their head office is, up around the M25. And he said, I'll bring it there if you, where do you want it? I've got a crane, I've got a HIAB. And in the end, they argued. They kept saying, you can't do that, can't do that. Because all these Zoes, if they were a battery lease, I'd ring RCI up and say, I don't want it. Where do you want the battery? They're going to, you can't do that. No, I can do what I want. It's my car. Because you lease the battery, you're not leasing the car. So if I unbolt the battery, they can have that bit back. Because they go, you can't take it out of the car. No, I can. I don't want it.
I've not seen anyone change a battery on a Zoe before. I've not actually actively looked, but I know that you can do battery upgrades for.
But no, what he done, he bluffed them, and they ended up giving him the battery for, like, they knew he weren't going to back down, and he was using it anyway, and he got it for 500 quid instead of like £2,000 or £3,000 or something. What's his question?
First question. So we know you don't have to drive into a lot of miles. If you didn't have free seasons, would it change your view?
Well, I wanted the car anyway. When I bought it, I do like my car. I think even now when I look at it, it does look nice, Model S. It looks, not just because it's a Tesla and it's quite expensive. I actually think it looks quite nice. I've always liked to look at the Jags, and you look at a Jag, I don't know, not the I-Pace, but the XF. I think and it is nice. You drive, it's got electric seats, big screen in the middle. It's just a nice car to drive, a nice old car to drive. I suppose I treated myself. I think I'm not going to live forever, and I want to treat myself. So I bought the car. The free supercharging was obviously, 18. To be fair, I suppose, would I have bought one with free supercharging, or would I have bought one without free supercharging? It's like, well, why would I buy one without free supercharging? Would I really want the front?
What have you done since you bought it, out of interest?
How many what?
How many miles have you done with the
free? I had 66 when I bought it. And so it was out of warranty because 50,000. It was
Mine was out of
50,000 miles. Was the
so you've done 140,000 miles.
Yeah, I've done that since February 18. I've had it about 5 years. It'll be 6 years. I mean,
I'll work that out now. I need to work that out. What that would have cost you.
I suppose if I think about it, what I would do, then I would charge at home, wouldn't I? With my solar panels, I would just.
Well, you've got a battery and solar, and you haven't. What do you use it for?
No, but I can't get to my house. I'm like landlocked. The car sales is next door, so I can run a lead over the wall. I can park at the front. I got it because I wanted it. Everybody tells you when you first have solar, people go, "Oh, how long's the payback?" I go, "Don't get it." What? Don't get it. Get it because you want it. If you want a Mars bar, go and get a Mars bar. Yeah, but it's more than a Mars bar. No, but only get what you want. And it just fascinates me. I can these black things on my roof and they give me electricity. Yes, it is seemed like a waste, but it's not a waste because I wanted to waste my money on it. It was exactly the same money as I bought an R1M. It was exactly the same money. 21. The bike was 21. This was 21. But this fascinates me more than my bike because, oh, and also I'm on the Tesla energy plan, so I get 25p export. Every kilowatt I export, I get 25p. Yeah, it is probably a waste. But then I just think, well, I wanted it, and it's the battery just. Well, I'm not off grid because Octopus empty it out about 5 o'clock. They empty it out, don't they? Empty the battery out, but they're paying me for that. So,
okay, so you're getting money back on it.
Yeah, I mean, I just think. Well, when I had it fitted, I said, "Well, can't I have more?" And he went, "Well, there's no point. It's just you're overkill." I said, "Yeah, but and everybody I know who's got solar wishes they had some more panels. I don't know anybody who says, "Oh, I wish they only had 3." Everyone wishes they had 50. And if you got 50, they'd say, "I wish I had 80." You just do.
Well, if your car does 2 pen, it probably does it. It's probably more expensive than this, but on my car, if I'd done 150,000 miles, it would have cost me £3,000 in my current 9 pence per kilowatt hour.
Yeah.
So it's not as much saving. It would be a hell of a lot of a saving if it was a, petrol diesel car. You think 150,000 miles worth of petrol? Jesus, wet.
Yeah, but it would be, wouldn't it? I'd have to have petrol, diesel, or my car.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think, yeah, it isn't so much the saving. It's just you don't care about it. I don't care if I drive it. It doesn't matter where I drive. When I've done the North Coast 500, I didn't even think about it. It was just like, and back then the North Coast 500 was free anyway. So it was like, it didn't. I don't know. I liked the car. I bought it. There wasn't really. Well, I don't think there was anything else back in 2018. There wasn't any. I don't know what else there was.
No.
The Model 3 came out to 19.
If you did want to do decent miles as well, apparently Derek seems to think that the Model S is better looking than his 3. I completely disagree. I love my 3. I've not driven an S. I've not driven an S, but I've driven an X. I've not driven a Y, actually. I need to get into some more electric cars. I want to drive the MGX Power. That'd be fun. So what's your guys' opinions on a few YouTubers bashing EVs at every opportunity? It's probably... I'll tell you why it is. It's because they either have never driven one or they've just, and I'll use Chiro from Petrolheadism as a perfect example of this, because I know he's anti-electric cars. He's got a small channel. The only electric experience I know that he's had is probably a Honda E, where he forgot to charge it and he got stranded and he had all sorts of issues. And, I think to have a decent experience in a electric car, dare I say it, you just want to drive a Tesla. And I've probably said this before, but buying a Tesla and living with a Tesla is, I think, completely different, especially if you're doing decent mileage compared to a normal electric car. But the electric highway is getting better, but it is still a lot more expensive. But I think we need to get back on the program of used prices. So current EV market. So we have got auto trader pricing, and I'll show you. In fact, I'll jump on it straight away. Actually, let's get on there now. I want to show people this screen. Share screen. All right. Hopefully, there we go. So what we've got here is a spreadsheet, which has basically got a whole list of cars on here. The old Nissan Leaf and the Renault Zoe isn't on here, but it basically shows a load of cars, realistic figures in terms of range, efficiencies, etc. Can you see what I'm looking at, Gary?
Yeah.
Perfect. We've got new price. Bear in mind that does change. It was a few years ago I did this. We've got a few dates here. This is the most important one. We've got 27th, 11th, 22, which is practically a year ago, and last week. So showing the cheapest average price. Now these prices I got from taking the 3 cheapest on Auto Trader and divide it by 3, just to make it a little bit more of an average, a bit fairer. So that just shows you what the cheapest electric cars are there, and also what the range is, the efficiency. Some really good information there. I've put the link in the description on this video. You can download this video, download this spreadsheet. There's also new car information on there, starting to populate van stuff as well. But I mean, if you look at the depreciation here, let's take the e-Golf might be a good one. Oh no, let's not do that one. Let's do the MG5. Here we go, down here. That's only taken about a £5,000 hit, but there's some that, here we go, Q4 Enyaq Model S. Let's take the Enyaq. £43,000 this time last year. Now it's 28,000. Bear in mind, brand new, it was about 40,000. So that was obviously higher than the original new price because delivery was so long. You could get lost in this spreadsheet having a look at the figures. It's quite interesting. Here's a good one. Audi e-tron 50. I consider this being a bit of a paperweight vehicle. Brand new 61. Last year it was 40,700. This year 21,000. It's like 20 grand in a year. But I think it's quite a good way of having a look. This spreadsheet's really good for looking at the range versus what sort of price they are at the moment.
But however, isn't it strange? How have you, if you don't sell any of them cars, how have you made a loss? If I bought an e-tron, I'm not going to lose any money till I sell it. And why can't I drive it for 10 years?
Yeah.
Because I don't own it because I want to drive a car I couldn't afford. So I had to PCP it. Then I'm looking at I remember my pants have been completely pulled down because I PCP'd it. And then I'm thinking, buy a car. Historically, I'd always say it used to be 17, 18, every car, 3-year-old was 50%. We still say if I've got say if a car was up for 12 grand, that car was 24 grand. That's what it used to be because all ex-mobility cars as well. It seemed to be a 3-year-old car was 50% of the price. I'm like, why don't you, historically, now you want to go and buy one, and why couldn't you drive any of these cars? Yes, if you drive it for 10 years, why can't you drive one for 10 years? I get the fancy. Yeah, I fancy a new number plate. I fancy another badge. I fancy that GT e-tron or whatever it is. But hang on a minute. If I go, instead of focusing on the price I'm losing, why don't I lose it loads, like make me look like I've walked everywhere. So do like 300. I mean, if my car had 500,000 miles, surely I've got far more value out of it than 192,000. Really, I should have given it to my mate who was a cab driver and said, yeah, drive that during the day. Just drive it during the day. You're going to wear it out, but don't matter. We'll be earning money out of the car. You drive it during the day. I'll drive it overnight and get another cab driver. Let's just drive. But people don't see that. They go, oh, but I want the new one. It's like, yeah, but then you're worrying about the price they're losing. I'm like, buy it, no, you shouldn't, because I sell cars. So no, you shouldn't listen to me. You should come and buy lots of new cars off me. And yes, you need a new number plate because they don't look very good at the bowls club. But no, but if you think about, we're worried about the loss.
You understand now, Gary, bowls.
But I'm worried about the loss. But it's only a loss when I sell it. Why can't I or keep it for one more year? Go, you know what? It's quite a nice car. Get out and actually clean it, hoover it out, wax it, make it look shiny. Have the wheels refurbished because you curbed it. Just keep it for another year or 2 years, then get rid of it. Because once you've had another 2 years use out of it, the hit, and it won't. If it's like, if it loses 10%, it's not like in 10 years' time a car is free, because that means in 12 years' time you'd have to pay someone to take your car away. What? I've got to pay you 20% to take my car? Rubbish. My car will always have a value as long as it's still going. It still looks nice, and you haven't wrecked it. But that's just my sort of thing, obviously everyone's got different opinions of what they think they should do. I'm not PCP bashing. I'm going, people are doing all this and then you're moaning the cars are losing money and oh God, it's like, just don't get a brand new, buy one now.
Well, yeah, the old, my parents, the old school way was, buy it and run it into the ground, until it's economically not viable. And that's what I'm going to do with my Tesla. And I'm getting 45p per mile at the moment. So it's actually, it's doing me well at the moment because it only cost me 2p a mile. So I'm making good margin on that one.
It seems to me with the price of EVs at the moment, I don't think they're still going down. I think, to me fair, we've got to the sort of bottom. I personally think we're at the bottom of.
I personally don't think we are. I think it's still going to come down a bit more. However, and the reason I say this is because, yes, you've got Auto Trader, which I've got the figures. People can have a look at them, great, or just go on Auto Trader yourself. And I mentioned this to you before we went live, is been watching a bit of Jonathan Portfield's video recently. He was basically showing the BCA EV live auction this week, and it was showing electric cars. Some were making cap, current auction price, which is the trade guide for what cars should make in the auction, which it's about 10% is the rule I would say. So if it's a 10 grand car, it's going to have circa £1,000 between what you buy it for and what you can retail it at.
Is that what cap stands for?
Current auction price, yeah.
I didn't know, because cap the black book, isn't it?
Yeah,
I didn't know that. Now, you know, I never knew that. We haven't got a book now. Don't bother. You don't need it over the internet. You can see what things.
No, well, yeah, but some people like fastidiously go by the book, which.
Oh, God, yeah, Garcia's guide as well, isn't it? Yeah, the two.
Yeah. Personally, I think it's what you can sell it for, and options make a huge difference.
What David's question there, but David, I mean, I suppose if I could go to a petrol garage and get petrol for 50p a gallon, why would I pay £10 a gallon? You know, and me, if it was like that much to rapid charge, I mean, why would I not charge on a destination charger? Maybe, you know, if I could get it, you know, 10p or 20p a kilowatt, why wouldn't I park half a mile away and put it on that? And, you know, why I wouldn't really particularly want to pay. If I had to, the thing is, everyone's focusing on the cost. If I'm low on energy, the cost is irrelevant. I need the energy to get me home. Or I go, well, I'm not worried about getting home, but I'm worried about the price. Now, if I want to get home, I don't give it's £2 a kilowatt. I just want to get home. You know, I just want to get home. I want to get to my destination. I want to get home. So sometimes I'd have to pay more money. Even me, imagine I couldn't charge because the Tesla chargers were down and there's a rapid charger around the corner. Whether I like it or not, I've either got to get a breakdown truck or I've got to pay the money. And I want to continue my journey. And I found that a long time. Even when I got my leave, everything was free. Even then I realized, actually, yes, it's nice to have it free, but actually continuing my journey is more important than the money. If the money is that important, I can't have that car. I've got to get a bus. If it's really, really super important and I can't afford it, well, I've got to get rid of my car. You know, and if I can afford to, I don't want to pay 70, 80 pence, but if I have to, then I would. And if there was a rapid charge and I'm low on charge, I'd have to use it. I can't not use it.
Funnily enough, I just saw Mod Scotsman. I've had a load because I put Honda E as the thumbnail. Everyone's like, "Oh, wait till a Honda E's 10 grand." You know, they were new 30 grand and they were holding their money pretty well. Now they're about 14. The problem with cars like the Honda E and the Mazda MX-30, I love the Mazda MX-30. I think it looks gorgeous. But the problem with those two cars is the range. They're both city cars, essentially. They're not. I don't think the residual value is going to be that strong for them. And I think a lot of people, not so much. I don't think Gary, because you're saying that it's a second car. If it's got a low range, you need to take that into consideration. Like you said, you know, the analogy of the three people in a two-seater.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think electric cars are still going to come down. And the reason I say this, because I've watched the auction and some of these electric cars were way behind book. The only cars that were really performing well is one of my favorite cars, which is the Honda Ioniq. Whether it's the 28 kilowatt hour or the 38 kilowatt hour, that was making cap, that was making the book money. And the Tesla Model 3s, most of them were making pretty much book money. Everything else was like $2 grand less than book, and in some cases a lot less. So I still think that they're coming down. And a really good point to this is the fact that in the auction, because they're not hitting the price, because no one really wants to buy them. And Gary, how many electric cars have you got out of how many cars you got at the moment?
We've got two, and we've got a Citroen DS3 E10s we've had for like forever, and I got a Mocha.
Okay.
Mocha. I mean, I think the Mocha's a nice car. I mean, I'd say it's probably about 170 mile. You know, it says like 200 miles, so it's about 100. It's probably 160, 170 mile, which I think would be a fair 150 easy. Yeah. No, if I want to do 80, no, but if I want to drive it sensible, I think it would do that sort of miles. And we sold a few of them. Had no problem with it. All the electric cars I've sold, I've had even the MGs. A few little problems with the MGs, but that's gone to MG, been fixed. Nothing really. And MG's warranty is actually pretty good. I like MGs. I think they're brilliant value for money.
They were looking really far behind cap. I mean, there was a 54 kilowatt is it 51 kilowatt hour battery, which is the slightly smaller one compared to the 61. It was an Excite, which is the non-leather version, MG5, and it was, I think it was, no one had bid on it, and I think they were starting the bids at like 9-8, and I think from what I've seen on Auto Trader, they're retailing at about 14-ish. So I think that's a bargain. If you see, I'm sure you've seen it, James and Kate, you know, they've gone over 100,000 miles in there and on theirs, and it's been good as gold. So I think cars to look out for in terms of bargains is the MG5. As I mentioned to you a little while ago, the Peugeot E2008. I've got no experience with that, but it does look like quite a lot of car for the money.
I think they don't have a great. I think the Peugeot doesn't have a fantastic range. I think it is. Yeah, it's probably 130, 140-ish miles, I guess. I don't really know because I've never had one, but I think the range isn't great. But then there's probably we're all saying about the range. It's like look at people's MOTs. Oh, you've done 90,000 miles. I've done a fair few miles, but most people don't go. Most people check their MOT history. It's just it's minimal. You know, they don't do that many miles. But I think miles.
What was that car? The Peugeot, wasn't it? Peugeot. Yeah. In fact, it'll be on here. Here we go. Peugeot E2008, 150 mile, 55 mile range. That's EV database. But what was the key thing for me on this? Because I'm a bit of a charging pervert these days, Mr. Chargehead. 101 kilowatt hours charging speed, which I thought was really, really good. Because a lot of cars out there at that sort of price range aren't as good as that. When you take the MG5, for example, although I think this is the new shape one, that's 200. That's 200 kilowatt hour. Oh no, it's 200 miles an hour. Sorry, 87 kilowatt hour max speed with 200 mile. Yeah, so all the figures that you'd ever want, and you can play around to your heart's content, is on that spreadsheet. It's free to download. Check out Chargeheads website. Links on the screen. Let's just go back to this. So turn that craziness off. There we go. So yeah, I wanted to talk about what the best used car EV buys are at the moment. If it was me, if you've got a very small budget, I'd probably go for a Renault Zoe. Don't worry about the battery lease because it's £25 a month, which is £300 a year. They've just brought it down. I think I'd probably go for that over a Nissan Leaf. The next cheapest car, there's some good bargains on, was it a Hyundai Ioniq you can get from about £9,000 now for a 28 kilowatt hour, and the newer shape that does about 120 mile range. Then the 38 kilowatt hour, which is about, they're going for about 12.5, 13,000. That's about 150 plus mile range, but a lot better in the summer and if you drive it sensibly. But I'd rather give you a combined rough figure. The MG5, I think, is one to watch. They're starting at 14, but I think they're going to start dropping. The Kona, you see the price of the Hyundai Konas, you get, 250, 220 mile range Hyundai Kona for about 15,000 now. The 64 kilowatt hour battery.
How much is a MGZS? What are they?
They're about 10,000 now.
See, I tell you what, if I had to get a car tomorrow, I'd probably get an MGZS.
Would you?
It's like a Qashqai, isn't it? It's a biggish car. I think they're all right. I mean, if you get the, I don't know what the top model with the panoramic roof is. It
probably the exclusive.
Yeah. If you get an exclusive, I mean, they've got heated seats. I think they've got heated seats, leather seats, electric driver seat, Apple CarPlay, Android. I think it's a good. I've driven one. Yeah, seems a bit skitty when you boot it, and but I just think for what it is, it's not a bad motor, and I think it's still got the 8-year warranty, and you probably get one which is low mileage, like 10,000 miles, ain't low, as you say, for 10,000. That's like,
well, I think it done about 80,000 miles, but there was one that went for it was up for sale for £8,000, and it done late 90s, and it weren't there for long. But my TVR, electric TVR's got MGZS batteries in it.
Has it?
Yeah, ironically, keeping British with MG/Chinese. But yeah, so I think those are the kind of cars that I look for. I mean, Teslas, they were going through the auction, sort of anything from 16 onwards. So I'm only talking about Model 3s here because most of the Model S's aren't really in auctions anymore. But yeah, you can get a good Tesla Model 3 long range for 20,000 now, under 100,000 miles. That's a lot of car for the money. A hell of a lot of car for the money. What's David? Has he got something controversial? Tim, it's a bit of a worry to hear that these cars aren't even getting bids at BCA. Is that just over supply or dealers not willing to stock them? Well, as this is what I was leading on to say with Gary. Gary has got, how many cars in stock have you got, Gary?
All 25.
25. And less than 10% is EV. If you're a dealer, would you want to put your money into something that's, been depreciating hard? I know a lot of dealers have already been burnt. When I was working at Vindus Group, I was buying a lot of electric cars. We were making lots of good money. And then when the market changed, it was like a ban on EV cars. That's one of the main,
it's brilliant. It's you're only going to stock what you hope people are going to buy.
Yeah.
And, for us right at the moment, it's like anything BMW with a panoramic roof is just, that sells. They just sell. The 2 Series, 7-seater, anything like that. Sort of CHRs, they seem to have made a booming comeback at the moment.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah. But EVs, it feels to me. I mean, I would definitely say get an EV, but again, if I'd say, look, anyone's going to buy one, I think don't wait, get one now, because I think, yes, I think you're right. It'll still go a bit more, but that's a bit like if you keep waiting, and that's the problem. Everyone keeps waiting. Everyone's like, well, I'll wait. I think is it called Moore's Law? Someone who he actually went out of business. He made computers or something, but everyone was waiting for the next processor or whatever it was. I'm sure it's called Moore's Law, and he went out of business. He made the law. He said everyone's waiting, but people need to buy it. Because they weren't buying it, he went out of business. And that's what it feels like. I think the danger with EVs is people are waiting. Yes, we are converting every day. We might convert 20 people over the whole population, but we need to have, say, once there's, say, 300 people a day in the market for an EV, the price is going down. Well, I buy a car and I sell it like that. Well, I'm not gonna go, well, I buy a BM. I'll go, well, let's try another EV. Oh, that's gone. Oh, let's buy 2 EVs. They've gone. Oh, let's buy 5. And that's what happened. Until the demand, what is there's not demand. So the dealers are, they say, like they're buying. I'm sure if there's a Model 3 for like 13 grand, someone's just going to go, I'll buy it anyway. Someone might buy it, and I'll buy it when it's almost giveaway. Someone will buy it, and that's what it feels like. It feels like the EVs are. You might buy one, and it's like that. I might sell it. So, or do I buy something I know is pretty hot on Auto Trader, and it's like it's just going, because I don't want to look at them. I need to sell them. I make them out of profit to pay my bills and allow me to come on here and use my laptop. I don't know. I think it'll recover. I think it'll recover, and things will be okay. But we need to. I don't know. We need more people to, and we need more people, or posh people, to PCP them. Because if you lot go out and PCP them, then us poor people can have the second-hand ones. That's what we need. We need all the people to go out and buy the new ones.
Well, there's certainly loads coming off lease from company cars. I mean, there's loads coming off. So that's where I think a lot of the BCA cars come from. I'm pretty sure that BCA hold back on some cars as well. We talk about BCA. Other auction houses are available. Aston Barclay, Mannheim. Yeah. Aston Barclay's quite a good one. They do have quite a few EVs in there. But yeah, I think I'll give you a scenario. So my wife was driving the Model 3. I was driving the camper van for work this time last year. And then I took the Tesla because I was doing, all the mileage for work. So I need an electric car. And we bought a second-hand petrol auto, even though I wanted to buy an electric car. But, once a year, my good lady, she goes on holiday and for a week and, doesn't want to start messing around with charge and all the rest of it. So I looked at the specific week that she goes away. I thought, okay, rent a car, all the money saved, I looked at the money. I think it would save it was about £1,000 in fuel. Definitely £1,000 in fuel. Like having the Renault Zoe versus with also the £300 worth of yearly battery lease compared to the Mazda 3 petrol auto we got. And it worked out, we made about £1,000. I looked at the week she was away. It was the last week in July. To rent a vehicle, it was like 700 quid. I was thinking, for goodness sake. But then I was thinking, well, actually, I would drive the Renault Zoe for that week and she could borrow the Tesla again. It would be all happy. But yeah, it will happen. We will buy another electric car and then we'll have just the petrol Alphard to save the airport the airport.
Usually, with prices, what usually happens is it's sort of self-fulfilling, isn't it? You know, once it's like gets a bit, once the demand gets there, the demand sort of fuels itself. You know, it's like once people start to buy them, they won't be on the market, so they can't buy them. And again, FOMO, I want one now. So then the Model 3 that was 16 grand or 18 grand suddenly will be more money because just I can't get one, so you can make more profit. I can stick it up for more money because there's the demand there. And they what's that need more? Well, that's the problem, Zoe. We need you need to but the new cars need to sell loads of new cars because they will eventually be for us poor people who can afford the second-hand ones. But until we need to incentivize all the new cars, lots of new cars, because they're not going to stay on lease forever. They're going to be on lease for about 2-3 years. People buy them in the auction, stick a bit of profit. And once there's more and more, then the prices, well, it's really weird. We'd be more when you say afford it, but at the moment, it feels like you need to buy one now. This is what it feels to me. It feels like, yeah, I agree with what Tim's saying. Yeah, I think they're going to go down a bit, but I don't think they're going to keep going down. I think they're going to go down to a point, well, and at some point, well, unless if we're saying they're not going to go back up, we're saying that no, everyone's going to come away from EVs, which I don't believe that'll happen.
Just thinking about it as well. You think about in relation to ICE cars, so petrol and diesel cars. You think of how many electric cars there are out there. As soon as that switch happens, it will be, you know, the price will increase or the stock will be depleted so much quicker than because there's just, you know, there's such a small percentage of electric cars out there. So I personally, what I think it will be, right? It'll either be, I don't think it'll be the government. I think there'll be something that happens, whether it's in the media, some sort of influencer or something like that. Unless something happens with electric price, they take away from gas, or you know, I think it's going to be something major out in the wild, so to speak. And I think that's just going to literally just switch, and it's all of a sudden going to switch around, and then it will start jumping up again. And I hope it's for the right reasons. I hope it's for the reason that, you know, people do see the fact that, you know, clean air is important, not just because people will say you must do this. You know, it's and this is why I started Chargeheads, and this is why I'm into electric cars, because I want to see it for the good that it brings. You know, and you know, you hear all the naysayers around all the negatives and all the myths and all the rest of it. There are still issues that need to be ironed out, and you know, we're working hard, and I know a lot of people in industries that are working hard to, you know, make sure that whether electric cars are greener, not made out of certain materials, the infrastructure's there. You know, we're all playing hard to make it happen. So yeah, that's my.
Once the charging, once it's like the charging, yes, we all know it's really available, but once the charging becomes, you know, every week it's more available, and then more, you know, once the charging is, well, there isn't anything else. Because if I drive at 50 mile an hour in my car, or you're in a petrol car, what's the difference? I'll go around a roundabout. If we go together, we just go round about it, and we just drive to Tesco. What is the difference? What car I'm driving? So, but I can't refuel it. That's the only thing I'd say. I'd say my electric car ownership is perfect. The only thing that's been a bit up and down is the charging it. The end. That's it. There's nothing wrong with the cars. All right, my car, the battery went wrong, but then I'm sure there's plenty of petrol cars, the engine had gone wrong, or the gearbox. So forget that, because yeah, all things are going to go wrong. The only issue I believe with electric cars is just the charging, but that is improving. But obviously, yeah, I'm sure if we wind forward 10 years, it'd be like, well, it'd be normal, wouldn't it? It'd be just, you know, you won't even think about it. When when you've had one for a long time, you sort of do think about it, but you sort of don't. Especially if it's a route you do regular. You know, even if it could be 200 miles, if you do it regular, you know where the charges are. You actually go, well, actually, let's stop there and we'll have lunch and we'll plug it in. If you was going to go to a pub, you try and use a pub that had a destination charger, because you go, well, I'm going to be here for 3 hours or 2 hours. It puts in 20 mile an hour. That's 40 mile. We've only come 10 miles. So we've gained 30 mile back. And especially if the pub are giving away the charge for free, that's the only thing I think the tax man might go, oh, you can't do that. That might be the only problem, that an HMRC will always want their cut of everything. They, you know, it's almost like we give them the incentives, and And then they sort of give it one. That's typical government. They give it one and take it back, don't they? It feels like that. It feels like we're going to do the ban then. Oh, hang on, we're bow to pressure. But I think once people can see that you can, because what I find my ownership is people go, oh, electric, I wouldn't have one of them. And then after about 2 or 3 years, oh, you still got it? Yeah. I went to Devon. Well, hang on, you went to Devon in your electric car? Yeah. Well, how'd you get there? Well,
that neck of the woods, the charging's not great. Have you been to Devon?
Well, not actually Devon, but I'm saying somewhere, and they go, oh, you've been there. It's like, and I say to people, what I find amazing is you're all telling me you can't have one. Okay. Why, when I put in the services, why is all these cars here? You don't want to stop, but why are you having a McDonald's on the services? Why? Yeah. When you get to your destination, maybe put a gallon of fuel in and get your destination. And wouldn't you have McDonald's at the seaside? Why would you want a McDonald's in the services? Another thing I've said, I love using this argument. People go, oh, I can't, if someone says I don't want one, that's fine. But if someone says I don't want one, I say to people, do you think the infrastructure is better today than it was a year ago? Yeah. Okay. Do you want an electric car? No. Okay, I don't want one. Fair enough. But if you tell me you don't want one because you can't charge it, yeah, that's right. Okay. So if I give you my car and 10 grand, or let's say 20 grand cash, but you have to drive it for 2 years, you can't take the cash. How can you take the cash? If you then go, yeah, I say, oh, hang on a minute ago, you were telling me you can't drive one because you can't charge it. So if I give you my car and even £1 million, how can you drive it? How? It's impossible unless you say, if you then go, yeah, if you say I've got two faces, that's fine. I understand that. If you say I've got one face, everyone tells you they've got one face. Okay, all right, fair enough. You can't have my car on 10 grand cash. If you've got to drive it, how are you going to get there? Well, you're going to walk everywhere. No, the rules are you have to drive it to get the cash. But you can't drive it. And my brother said, well, yeah, you would. I went, no. You told me you can't. Make your mind up. You can't want the money if you go. And I love you using these things. But, because I just think, yes, all right, I'm going to admit they're rubbish, but they're not rubbish. I'll drive mine and I can get everywhere. Oh, yes, I've got a Tesla, but I'm sure I would manage if I didn't. Where I go, there's MFG, Ecotricity, GridServe. Yes, it's not as cheap, but you know what? If I want one, my punishment is I have to wait a little bit longer and I have to maybe pay a bit of money. That's that's the downside, I suppose.
Yeah. No, I'm fine, mate. It's one of those things, mate. It's, I think you've got to live and breathe it realistically. I mean, I've not lived and breathed. There's only been a couple of times where I've tried to use the public network and it did go horribly wrong. And that was that this summer or was it last summer? I think that was last summer. Yeah, last summer when I was in the Tesla and I was trying to find chargers and it was awful. Went to charging place and I think it was Asda and there's someone turned up and he had literally 0 on the range. Had been dropped there by an RAC guy and the charger wasn't working. And then there was another lady that, it was just bedlam. And then I went to go and try and find another charger. It had been iced. And I was like, screw this. I just ended up not charging and then charging on a Tesla charge on the way home. So this is going to be really interesting when my TVR's done, because obviously that's going to be public charging and the range is going to be circa 150. So
you can do it and it's getting...
Oh, yeah. It'll be an experience. Loads of content for the YouTube channel would be brilliant.
It depends on where you are. I mean, as you say, if you went to Devon, it's like, oh my God, it's a waste of time, but really you probably wouldn't. Why would you want to make a point of, going to Devon, unless you was in Devon? Like if you're in London, it's no real problem at all, really. There's plenty of charges. The problem is they're never exactly where you want them, are they? I just think I live in a perfect world with imperfections, it's a little bit cranky, the world, but, and I'm prepared to I've got my Tesla. That can't go on forever. One day it's going to get stolen or smashed up or something will happen to it. And, then I've got to, if I want another electric car, I've got to put myself out and I'll have to charge. And whatever the price is, it's the price. But I'll do my research. I'll do my research. And, to me, I suppose I'd try and charge as much cheaply as possible. And I would charge at home then, wouldn't I? I would make a point of charging at home. Why would you not? It'd be sod giving Optimus my energy, I'd be like, well, no, I want to charge it, because instead of getting 25p, I'm paying 80p or 70p. But the 80p ones, they're sort of, it seems like they're the norm at the moment because everyone's talking about it. But I'm sure as we go forward, we're at level, and as you get more competition, isn't it? If Gridserve saying 80p, an Instavolt and then a 60, what you mean? You say you're literally going to go to Gridserve? No, you're not. You're going to go, see you later, Todden. I'm going to Instavolt because it's cheaper. You just will.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, then you would think that there'd be some competition. I don't have to worry about that because, again, just use Tesla ones and it's cheap as chips. But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we could literally try and put the world to rights on the EV side of things, but I think it's getting there, and I think I agree what you're saying. I think maybe it is soon or now the time to buy an electric car because they're so cheap, you know.
Well, they just feel cheap. They feel like they
do feel cheap. Yeah,
they feel cheap. They feel well. You know, I mean, to be fair, you might see it in a year and go, "Oh God, you know, they've gone down to like $5,000 now." I can't believe that.
It would be really interesting to see how the new year starts because, as you know, and as I mentioned before, you know, the start of the new year, it's always, you know, people who've got some money in their pocket. They got it from grandma, or you know, something's happened, something's changed, they've moved house, they need a different car. The market always goes a little bit mental the start of January. So it'd be interesting to see whether the electric cars are included in that. And I think on that bombshell, not that it was a bombshell, but yeah, I think it'll be really interesting to see what happens next year. But only time will tell.
It's exciting times anyway.
I would just
it's a good time to be alive. I think it's an exciting time.
No, it is. Gary, thank you so much for jumping on with us today. It's been really, really interesting. I really like your outlook on electric cars and your outlook on the transport side of things. It's very different to a lot of people that are out there, especially, you know, with your experience and with your electric connections as well. I will say though, I think it'd be quite important, and I'm gonna send it out there soon of who we've got on who we've got coming up on the channel for the live stream. We've got, as I mentioned earlier, we've got Ewan McTurk coming in January. We've also got an EV specialist, Janusz from Ottoman, who's coming from a company that they do EV conversions. They were doing it on taxis. They do it on other vehicles as well, which would be interesting. We've got Clive coming up, who was supposed to be last week. It's all about modified EVs. We'll have a good old rant about electric stuff, I'm sure. And I think we've got Dan coming back as well from EV Tuners. So plenty going on. But thank you very much again, Gary, for joining us. And no doubt I'll speak to you soon, buddy.
All right, yeah. Definitely.
Take it easy, mate. Nice one. Thanks everyone for watching.
Yeah. Cheers, everyone.